Hold on. Let me adjust the contrast slightly so I'm not showing everything here. Contrast theme settings. Okay. Podcast and apply. Hello, everyone. This is Cassandra Williamson. On today's show of The Path Forward, in this one, we're going to talk about where the road goes. There go I. No, just something along those lines anyway. So you're more than welcome to jump in and say something or be part of this thing. I'm going to post some links in different places here. Copy the invite link. Let me go over to X and put that up there. Invitation link. Post. I don't know how that will turn out, but hey, there we go. So come on in and join us wherever you may be and however you may be watching. Come on in. Let's have a conversation. I am willing to talk about anything you want to talk about. You know, really, that's what it all amounts to. I don't care. Well, we're not going to say something that absolutely shouldn't be said on air, right? None of us should. Okay. Let me go up to this and go click. Here we go. And I'm going to add a picture to this. From over here, I'm going to go to downloads. I'm actually setting this up because I've been on the run all day long. All day long. Next. And who can see it? Everyone can see it, of course. All right. So how's everybody doing this evening? Well, it is rainy here in the hollers of eastern Kentucky. I've been out most of the afternoon. Today I drove all over the place. I picked up some stuff from Walmart and had to drop it off on Chapman Holler. Let's see, Bevins Road and Meta and some other places around Meta. And then Main Street in Pikeville at the courthouse. Let me see. And then went from there to another little apartment complex in downtown Pikeville. And then on top of a ridge that I'd never been on before. I didn't even know that ridge was there. And I certainly didn't know what to expect when I got up on top. But that was my final little thing that I had to do with Spark with Walmart. Because I do the Spark thing too. And actually, I'm making a whole heck of a lot more money with Spark, which is the delivery app for Walmart. And, you know, it's more places I've never been right here in my home county. So the place I went to last was called Chloe Ridge. And it's located in Pikeville. And if you know anything about Pikeville, you have on the old road that went around the town, you had Dorsey's Restaurant, which has been there since the 1950s, I think, maybe somewhere around there. And then right near there, just around the curve, just slightly, there's the fire department's training compound place where the fire department trains for fires and all that kind of stuff. And then next little place right beside that is where the autism center is for Eastern Kentucky Autism Center. And it's a big, nice building, but you go around behind that building and up this place called Chloe Ridge, and there's a big gate. It's gated community. There's a big gate there you got to get into. I didn't know that was there. I had no idea that was back there on top of that hill. But I'm going to tell you, I wound my way all the way to the top of the hill, went around curves that chased my tail in my little car, and that says a lot. But going all the way to the top of that hill, and up on top is these massive homes that I had no idea were there. Had none. Don't know who lives there. Nothing of that sort. I can tell you this, that the homes all had, let's say, minimum of 3-car garage. Some had 5-car garages. These places were huge on top of this mountain, and it's beautifully landscaped. It's a beautiful place up there. And I'm going to figure those homes are $1.5 million homes, maybe something like that, maybe more. I don't know. They're very nice homes, and I just never expected to see that on top of a hill in Pikeville, Kentucky. Chloe Ridge, of all places. So, anyway, that was my afternoon. And so I've had fun doing all of that. I came back home. I had to sit down. I just got back in at about 20 after 5, which gives me 15 to 20 minutes to throw a dinner together for the family. And tonight we had some, let's see, taco rice. And it just comes in a little bag of Ben's taco rice in a bag. And boil the water, put that in there. But I wanted to spice it up a little bit, not necessarily calorically, but add some more stuff to it. So I added in some smoked brats and some chili powder and some beanless chili that I had. So put all that together, and it turned out really well. So I got my mom some of that and gave her some oyster crackers to go with it and all. And I hope she's enjoying it because she's sitting in the living room with Gideon, my brother, and they're munching down on food. I know Irma is too, my sister. And today, Irma made it to the doctor early this morning. I've been up since before 4:00 a.m. and got her ready. Finally made it to the doctor by about 7:30. She's supposed to be there at 6:15, but she had some accidents that we had to take care of and clean up and all of that. And so got there a little bit late, but nonetheless, we got out of the hospital, out of the surgery center at probably around noon-ish, something like that. But they did an EGD, which is the scope where you look down your throat. They were going to do a colonoscopy, but she can't stand that magnesium citrate. I don't blame her. I gave her some of that yesterday, 5:00 in the evening. Supposed to get it at 5:10 yesterday, so she'd be ready for the clean out and all that stuff for the colonoscopy. But she took one little tiny sip of that stuff at 5, and that was it. She made it very clear that she was not going to drink that stuff. So the colonoscopy got removed from the list. But the EGD, well, that came back with a 2 centimeter long hiatal hernia, which was right in the middle of your chest, right down in here. And so it's been causing a lot of the pain and causing not just excruciating pain. I'm telling you, I know what it's like. I've had that same thing, but it's excruciating pain. I know. It makes you so sick you can't stand it. It doesn't matter what you eat. Nothing seems to slow it down or stop it. But that hiatal hernia was 2 centimeters. That's about I'm going to guess about a little under 3/4 of an inch, just, something like that. That's pretty good size opening in her esophagus. And it's no wonder she's in pain so much there with that thing. I fully understand that. And it makes you nauseous sometimes. You can, if you're eating something and it makes a flare up for that, creates a flare up for that esophageal hiatal hernia, then you've got to wait it out. You've got to wait that out because it is so painful. It will bring tears to your eyes. It hurts so bad. And yeah, that's talking from personal experience. And it will make you double over in pain. It is horrible. I understand what she's going through. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it, really, other than medicines. The doctor did say, or the nurse practitioner did say that, there are no surgeons here that he knows of who would do that kind of surgery, because that's a delicate place, hard to get to. It's in your esophagus. You've got to be able to still swallow food. And he said he didn't know of anybody who did that. Now, and I don't know, I haven't looked any deeper than that, but we've been giving her medicine and Pepto-Bismol and try to cool it down because I know how painful and horrible that is for her. And it's hard for her to communicate because she's nonverbal, and it's hard for her to get around because she has to get around in a wheelchair. So it's she can get around and she can let you know what she's thinking. For instance, when we left the hospital today, I asked her what she wanted to eat, and she mumbled something, and I have to do an interpretive uh, dance with her. I say, slow down just a little bit. Say it again. Um, then I told her, I said, I don't get it. Just give me a minute to think about this, see what it sounds like. I get it rolling around in my head to see what it is you're saying. And I finally got it. I figured it out. I said, oh, you want chicken nuggets? Yeah. But she crams that whole 2 words into like less than a second. It goes, pump. And you've got to interpret everything to figure out what it is. I've learned to do that. It is interesting though. I've learned how to understand what she means when she says fishing more. It comes out it comes out really fast and really all crushed together. I think she could speak German in a heartbeat. Because and some of the German words are like bunch of English words all put together but slammed together into one. But it's funny. Anyway, yeah, Irma could do that. She could do the German stuff in a hurry. But we finally figured it out that's what she wanted with chicken nuggets. I got her some chicken nuggets, but she couldn't eat them on the way back because she was really sick from that all hurting and stuff. And when I got back, I had to make sure that she got a Pepto-Bismol to cool all that stuff off. It's because I know how painful all of that is. I really do. It's just excruciating pain. So what have y'all been doing today? Anything? Anybody want to talk? All you have to do is there's a link on a couple different places. I think on X and on Facebook maybe, and places where you could actually click on that link and I'll see it show up over here. And if you wanted to join me in a conversation, I'm more than willing to do that. Whatever. I'm not afraid of other opinions, and neither should you be. And other views, other perspectives on things. I mean, that's what makes the world turn around, right? I mean, that's what makes things work best, is when we can entertain other views and perspectives on things. And whether we agree with them or not, you can at least entertain them in your mind and hold them there and think about it, at least from the perspective of somebody else, how they're dealing with these things. When you literally walk in someone else's mind, basically, in shoes and whatever, that's a no small accomplishment. That's a major accomplishment for you if you can pull that off. I mean, a lot of people can't do that and refuse to do it. They don't want to do it, and they don't believe that you are worthy of any of their time. Unfortunately, that is true with every group, left, right, center, whatever. I mean, that's just the way it is, and it's actually pretty horrible that it comes down to that, but that's human nature, right? Seems to be. I don't know how we can regulate it or control it in any way. It just have to let it go through cycles, and that's what happens. It goes through cycles over time, and people they've got to go through their thing. Liberals get in control one decade, and the next decade it's the conservatives, and then it cycles back around. And I mean, that's just the way it is. Okay. The cycles of human, I was going to say nature, but there's something more to it than that. It's not necessarily that. It's all of our foibles and all of our differences and all of the things that make us alike. It's the entire thing that makes us human. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to go over on X, like I did at the midday program today, and see what people are saying. And let me see. Nope, no replies. Everybody just stopped talking to me after the middle of the day. When EF Comics started talking earlier today, they said that I was condescending, and if any of you see that I come across as condescending, I want to know about that. I want to know that, because it's something I need to fix. If you're perceiving that coming from me, then it's something I obviously need to work on, right? Because that perception is really all that matters. And I don't want that. I don't want to come across that way. I do know that it's easy to do that, particularly if you've spent your entire life wrestling with and dealing with and studying different topics and different things and and who you are. You've studied your life. You've studied it all. You're trying to understand all of that. And so you do become an expert in those fields. But for some people, for others to dismiss that, then that's a problem. But if what I say comes across as condescending or aloof or arrogant, I do want to make sure that I am addressing that, because that is not the intent. But see, that intent part doesn't matter, does it? It's how you perceive it. If you perceive it that way, no matter what I say about whether it was intended or not, is not relevant, because you're the one who hears it. You're the one who sees whatever it is and hears whatever it is that I'm saying and doing. So condescension is something that I don't like in any way, and I'm trying to make sure that I don't do that. So there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, and there's just so much of it. I did get an email from some old friends today. Let me go into my email account over here. I need to look this up because there was a message from an organization I used to be associated with as their executive director. And let me go into Gmail. Where am I? Gmail. Okay. And here we go. Well, I wonder why it's getting me to do all that. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on, and dealing with all of it can be draining at the very least. And you really get to the point where you think, you just go, you've done all you can. You've reached the point where you're saying, look, there's nothing you can do to change my mind except interact and engage with me. If you want to have that conversation, sure, I'm willing to at least entertain those thoughts, but I kind of expect that respect back, because what I see is so many people who carry these designations of PhD or whatever over here in psychology or psychiatry or whatever over on X, and they're just spouting off all this stuff. They're coming at it from a place of having studied those things, I'm sure, but they've also kind of allowed themselves to think that they know best and that only they are right. And that's solipsism. That's a philosophy, a way of thinking that says that no one else can think, it's only me. And I don't want to be that. That's not the kind of thinking that I adhere to. And it's closely correlated with narcissism. And I try to point that out to some of these people in a non-confrontational way. I don't want to just go out there and shout. Sometimes I do because you just have enough. But trying to hold a mirror up is a hard thing to do, because most people are throwing rocks at it, even those who should be looking in the mirror. So, there's so much to think about. You've got what President Trump is doing. He was given authority by the Supreme Court, I think it was today, to go ahead and do the mass layoffs. They aren't commenting on the validity of the arguments or anything like that. They're not saying whether or not it is constitutional or not. They're just saying, while it's working its way through the courts, that the president can go ahead and do his mass layoffs across the whole of the federal government. And you can guarantee that's coming. And then a conversation I tried to have today with the VA secretary, which he never responds to me. And I can't imagine why. But I do. I know why. Because if he has a conversation with me, he would be fired as secretary of the VA. Why? Because I'm one of those minority populations that they don't think has a right to exist. They think I have no right to exist. And they have no business, and they think that they are doing the right thing by denying us the care that we've earned. And I try to have that conversation with people. And it gets to be really interesting, especially when those who will not respond to you are coming across as if they're solving all the problems for the veterans. And Secretary Collins has said those things. We're improving everything it's getting. All the veterans are getting better service now and better care. And every time that I see some comment like that, I'll go, but what about your transgender and transsexual and non-binary veterans? And what about your LGBT veterans? And yeah, what about all those people that you have jerked their care away from because of who they are, because they conflict with your ideology? And that's all it is, really, right? That's all it really amounts to, is that they say that being transgender is an ideology, and I'm going to tell you that it is not. It's not a choice. It's not an ideology. It's not some, and I'll tell you that I don't like the term transgender. I don't like the term transsexual. That transsexual is an old, outdated word, and it came up in another conversation over on Twitter today too. And technically, transsexual is the word used for the definition of the problem with a diagnosis of gender dysphoria, but it's in the International Classification and Diagnostics Manual, whatever that is, the ICD-10, the new one. And they improve those things and make corrections along the time, but right now, the ICD-10, which is what most organizations use for medical diagnoses, it has in there gender dysphoria as a medical diagnosis, and then correlate that with being transsexual. And this person was pointing out to me, and rightly so, that it doesn't say transgender and it doesn't say non-binary in that. But those terms are umbrella terms that include this thing called transsexual. Transsexual technically is someone who has been diagnosed with gender dysphoria, like me, and then makes every effort to go through the procedures of, making their body match their mind, which, like me, I've done that every bit, all of it. And the peace that comes with that for someone who has been diagnosed with gender dysphoria is just fantastic. But I don't like the word transsexual, because when people hear that word, they associate it with sexuality or sex or something like that in terms of the act of sex. And no, that is not who I am or what I am or anything like that. It's not. I don't like the term, because that was never the modus operandi. That was never the reason for anything about where I came from and where I am now. Peace. That's just beyond comprehension. And the only thing that makes it bad is when you have other people who have, in their minds, they have preoccupied themselves so much with transgender and transsexual people that their brains have taken, those words and us and me and people like me have taken up so much real estate in their brains that that's all they can think about. They are so preoccupied with my existence that, it's kind of validating. I'm sure they don't mean it that way, but my goodness, if every other word that comes out of your programming or any of your shows or on Fox or wherever it might come from, if throughout the program, ever how long that program is, you have to mention transgender people, just because, then we have taken up a lot of space in your head. and so I have to ask the question then, are you one of us? Yeah, so that's the question I asked. I said, "Come on, I mean, you're thinking about this more than I do. I just think about it because I get on here and talk about the shows, and try to do things for the people in this community. These people are Americans in this community, and they're deserving of just as much respect and dignity as any other population of Americans. And that's the thing. That's the biggest thing that I'm seeing. Is one, you've got so much of your brain occupied with me or those like me that all you can think about in every other word, every other communication of some kind, you've got to point out that, hey, the transgender people are doing all this and doing all that. And you're trying to make us into some monsters, and we're not. Now, let me be very clear. That is not a binary black and white statement, okay? There are more, statistically, there are more bad people in your churches and synagogues and mosques than there are in this community of trans people, doing more harm to kids than anybody you can think of. And they are grooming those kids. We aren't grooming the kids. All you have to do is go to your local church or your synagogue or wherever, and you'll find out who's grooming what. You'll find out that that's what's going on. I had a problem like that with the scout leader, not, long time ago. And yeah, it became a real challenge. It did. Difficulty. I'd actually hidden it for years and 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 years. But the point is, I know how to get through those things. I know how to be resilient and how to overcome. I know how to move forward and get the path forward, because that path forward involves me doing things for other people in this community, like I'm asking you to do. You know, where the road goes, the title of this episode tonight, well, it goes where you decide to drive it. It goes where you want it to go. Now, it may be set. You have to make a lot of turns and shifts in your path to get there. You may go left some and right some, and you go up and down and around, and it may seem like you're never going to reach your destination. But you still control it along the way, and you still know how to get there. It's up to you. Putting one foot in front of the other. And don't let the stuff in this world around you drag you down. Keep your spirits up. Be good to people. The golden rule is important. You know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Its other corollary is love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the other one is live and let live. Those things we need back. And with that, come back tomorrow around midday or tomorrow evening around 6.